Chapter 652. In addition to the chili long slice, there's another dish called saliva chicken. The so-called saliva chicken doesn't have saliva in it, but because of the spicy taste, it will make people's mouth numb and they will unconsciously secrete saliva, Su Yiyen said as she took out a yellow chicken that had been plucked clean and put it into the pot to cook. This dish is also a cold dish, so you need to cook the chicken first. But remember not to cook it for too long, or the chicken will become old and fall apart easily. After cooking for about 10 minutes, you can take out the chicken and put it into cold water to cool. This step is to ensure the tightness of the chicken and make its skin delicate and tender. After that, she added various kinds of sauces and poured them over the yellow chicken, and the dish was ready. The last dish is the vermicelli, called sautéed vermicelli with spicy minced pork. Of course, it's not eaten by boiling ants, but the minced meat inside is very minced. After being fried with the vermicelli, it looks like ants climbing on the vermicelli, hence the name. Sautéed vermicelli with spicy minced pork with ginger and garlic was not difficult to cook. After the vermicelli was cooked, the cake base was almost ready. Su Yiyen also started to make the cream to be spread on the base. Fortunately, the Qing family had a kitchen made with many kitchen tools, including an automatic mixer. When Su Yiyen used the blender to beat the cream, the base was also ready. Su Yiyen made the simplest fruit cream cake. After a layer of cream was spread, she mixed some fruit juice with cream of other colors and drew some patterns on the edge of the cake. Finally, she drew an especially big face on the top layer of white cream and wrote, "Happy 27th birthday to my husband." She also surrounded the cake with a circle of bright red strawberries, which looked very beautiful and had the heart of a young girl. Perfect. Su Yiyen clapped her hands with a complacent look. Oh, right, there's also the longevity noodles. Su Yiyen stared at the cake and slapped her forehead. She quickly kneaded another dough and began to make the longevity noodles. The specialty of longevity noodles was that there was only one strip of noodles in each serving. It was best not to break it when cooking, and it was best not to break it when eating. It implied a long life and a long life. This meant that the person who made this bowl of noodles had to spend some effort to increase the tenacity of the noodles, so that they wouldn't be overcooked before they were placed in front of the birthday boy. Su Yiyen pulled up the noodles as fast as she could. Just as she was about to find some ingredients to add in, she raised her head. Her mind suddenly went blank, and she subconsciously fell to the side. Just as her stomach was about to hit the counter on the side, something like an airbag suddenly popped out and supported her, preventing her from bumping into anything. The dizziness only lasted for a moment. Su Yiyen quickly reacted and reached out to hold on to the cabinet on the other side to steady herself. At the same time, a sharp mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Warning! Warning! It has been detected that the host is in a state of excessive fatigue. If this continues, it is likely to threaten the safety of the cubs. Please rest as soon as possible to restore your physical strength and ensure the safety of the baby. I repeat, please. Su Yiyen could no longer hear the rest of the system's words. She widened her eyes in shock, and only two words kept repeating in her muddled mind. Cubs. Was it what she thought it meant? Chapter 653. Su Yiyen was stunned for a few seconds before her expression suddenly changed. She asked in surprise and fear, System, what do you mean by that? I have a baby, right? I have a baby. How is the baby? Host, please rest assured that the baby is fine for the time being. It's just that the host's body is weak due to exhaustion, which is not conducive to the baby's good development. I advise the host to rest well during this period of time. Only by resting well can you better ensure the baby's safety and good development. When Su Yiyen heard the system's words, she felt relieved and a little scared at the same time. She reached out and touched her stomach, which had not changed. She thought about how she and Hu Chenhuan's baby was already in there, and she did not know about it at all. Just now, system, were you the one who protected me and the baby just now? There was no sound in her mind. Just when Su Yiyan thought there would be no response, she heard the familiar mechanical voice in her mind again. Yes. Su Yiyan's hand subconsciously tightened and she said sincerely, "Thank you." With such an episode, Su Yiyan naturally did not dare to stay in the kitchen and work anymore. Fortunately, all the things she needed were basically ready. The remaining longevity noodles could be cooked by Aunt Fong when Hu Chenhuan came back. Su Yiyan still found it hard to believe that she was pregnant under such circumstances. She touched her stomach and confirmed with the system several times. Fortunately, the system understood her excitement of being a mother for the first time and replied good-naturedly time and time again. Otherwise, it would have been on standby. After about 10 minutes, Su Yiyan's feverish head finally cooled down a little. She began to ask about the baby in her stomach. How old is the baby? The system gave a rough time. Su Yiyan calculated. It seemed to be the night she and Hu Chenhuan were at the top of the mountain. Su Yiyan's face turned red when she thought about it. Did she overdo it for a certain someone? They had only done it a few times from the time they officially consummated their marriage until that night, and now, however, she seemed to have thought of something and her eyes narrowed. Wait a minute, system. When Chenhuan and I were doing that, could it be that the system was practically hiding in her body now? When she was working with Hu Chenhuan, wouldn't it be able to see everything? Was there any privacy left? The system seemed to have been rendered speechless by Su Yiyan's question. After a long while, it finally replied. The system has an underage protection mode. When the host kisses his partner, the system will automatically mosaic the image of the system. If the host exceeds the limit, the system will enter dormant standby mode by default. So, your kissing is like a mosaic in my eyes, and everything below the neck is on standby mode. What do you have to worry about? Do you really think I'm interested in watching your disgusting AB-18 scenes? This system is still a baby. When Su Yiyan heard the system's words, he heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was a little confused. Underage. How could a data system be divided into adults and minors? Since its existence, the system has been in use for less than a year. Based on this, it seemed to be even older than that stupid dog of yours. No, it was an advanced intelligence system. Why did it have to be compared to that stupid dog? Perhaps the virus had entered its brain and caused it to lose its intelligence. Chapter 654. Although Hu Chenhuan had been invited to deliver documents to Qing Juanhouse Company, it wasn't easy to fool him. The higher-ups of Qing Juanhouse Company tried their best to buy time for their boss, but in the end, they couldn't keep him for long. Hu Chenhuan didn't stay for more than an hour at Qing Juanhouse Company before he hurried back to the Qing residence. Even so, by the time he got home, it was almost nightfall. Hu Chenhuan furrowed his eyebrows when he saw that the room was pitch black without even a single light. He sensed that something was amiss. Did everyone in the family go out, or? Hu Chenhuan walked in suspiciously and cautiously. Just as he reached the living room and was about to turn on the lights in the house lit up. The lights in the room lit up first. At the same time, with a few bangs, beautiful ribbons and confetti flew toward Hu Chenhuan. In just a moment, they covered his head. Hu Chenhuan instinctively reached out to block them. His expression was grave and confused. When he took a closer look, he realized that many people had gathered in the house. Many of them were still holding confetti that hadn't been put away. The main culprits who had just sprayed him with black ribbons were these people. In front of them was a table full of sumptuous dishes and a beautiful 3-layer cake. You guys! Before Hu Chenhuan could finish speaking, everyone shouted happily, "Happy birthday! Birthday!" Hua Qinhuan was stunned. Then, his expression darkened. He didn't feel the slightest bit of joy from being blessed. Su Yiyan seemed to have expected this. Before he could lose his temper, he hugged him and coaxed in a low voice, "Everyone's here. I'll explain it to you later." Su Yiyan's words calmed Hua Qinhuan down a little. Since there were so many acquaintances present, he couldn't lose his temper. He could only silently let Su Yiyan pull him to the table. There were not many people who came to attend this birthday party. Other than old Master Qing and Qin Shuiru, there were only a few old men who came after hearing the news. After getting along for nearly half a month, everyone could be considered to be familiar with each other. Naturally, there was nothing taboo between them. As soon as they saw Su Yiyan pulling Huiyao over, they couldn't help but tease, "Wazi is really lucky to be able to marry our Yan Yan." Yan Yan spent an entire afternoon cooking this table of dishes. It took him a lot of effort. Isn't it? Look at the cake in the middle of the table. I've lived for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a big and beautiful cake. The white layer on top is made of milk and eggs. It looks delicious. Old man Cheng, why didn't you ask Yan Yan to make you a cake like this for your birthday? In the end, the new person has replaced the old. An old man like you is not as lovable as a young man. Old Master Ching snorted when he heard that. His old face pulled a long face and he was very unhappy. He couldn't help but feel that the reason why Old Man Li had become his sworn enemy every day was not without reason. Old Man Li could accurately poke his Achilles heel every time, making him gnash his teeth in hatred. Just like this time, Su Yiyan held a birthday party for Hua Qinhuan and made him such a big cake. Although Old Master Qing understood in his heart, he was very jealous in his heart. Old Man Li just had to point it out. He really wanted to pick up a broom and chase him out. Seeing that a good birthday party was about to turn into a family conflict, Su Yiyan really had to hand it to Old Man Li's temper. "I only learned to make this cake recently. If Grandpa likes it, I'll make you a bigger and more beautiful one after your birthday this year." Chapter 655. Only then did Old Master Chang's expression lighten up. He turned to glance at Grandpa Li and snorted with a smug look on his face. Grandpa Li touched his nose. He was just used to teasing a certain someone. He realized that the timing wasn't right, so he didn't continue to talk back. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. He reached out to hold Hua Qinhuan's hand under the table and intertwined their fingers. Hua Qinhuan was stunned, and his tense expression finally eased a little. Su Yiyan saw that he wasn't in high spirits, so he didn't force him to stay in the hall. After talking to a few people, he took Hua Qinhuan back to the house. The others didn't pay much attention to it. They just thought that the two of them wanted to talk alone and enjoy some alone time. They still had a table full of dishes to eat, so they didn't pay much attention to them. As soon as the door was closed, Su Yiyan couldn't wait to kiss him. Hua Qinhuan was shocked, but he reacted quickly and took the initiative. He had to admit that kissing could be used as a fire extinguisher sometimes. Of course, the premise was that the person who kissed him was also the person he liked. Otherwise, the fire extinguisher might turn into an oil barrel. After the kiss, Su Yiyan stole a glance at Hua Qinhuan's expression. He lowered his head and said softly, "I know you don't like to celebrate birthdays. Today's matter was indeed my own decision. If you're angry, you can scold me. Don't keep it in your heart." Of course, he couldn't bear to scold him. Looking at the hairpin on top of Su Yiyan's head, Hua Qinhuan sighed. "When did you start preparing?" "A week ago." Su Yiyan looked up at Hua Qinhuan. His slightly bright eyes were full of praise. "The decorations in the house just now, as well as the ribbons and firecrackers, were all bought by me. I also made all the dishes on the table, especially that big cake. I worked for a long time to make the patterns on it. Hua Qinhuan looked at Su Yiyan in high spirits. The lines on his face softened for a moment, but it was only for a moment. He was silent for a moment and continued to ask, "How did you know that today is my birthday?" "Uncle Zhang was with me before I came." Hua Qinhuan pursed her lips. Just as she was about to continue, someone knocked on the door. "Sister Yanyan." "He's here." Su Yiyan immediately recognized Aunt Fang's voice. She hurriedly got up and ran over to open the door to take the noodles. "This is the longevity noodles I specially made for you. Hurry up and eat it while it's hot. It's going to burn if it's left for too long." Longevity noodles. Hua Qinhuan stared blankly at the bowl of noodles in Su Yian's hands. "These are birthday noodles. There's only one noodle in this bowl. Remember not to break it when you eat it. Eat it from the beginning to the end so that you can receive the blessing." Hua Qinhuan listened to Su Yiyan's superstitious rambling. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Su Yiyan seemed to see his hesitation. She pursed her lips and said pitifully, "I saw that you were unhappy just now, so I didn't let you blow out the candles and make a wish. Now, at least eat the noodles. I've been pooping for a long time. Blow out the candles and make a wish." Su Yiyan was stunned. She suddenly remembered that most people in this era didn't have any special thoughts about their birthdays, let alone eat cake and blow out the candles and make a wish. When your parents were still alive, how did you celebrate your birthday every year? Hua Qinhuan was stunned. The hand holding the bowl tightened subconsciously. "They would take some time out to take me out to play. Then, we would have dinner together in the evening." Chapter 656. It was a simple itinerary, but now it was out of reach. It would never happen again. "It's okay. I'll be with you on your birthday. Next year, we'll have our baby together." Hua Qinhuan smiled and said nothing. Su Yiyan didn't force him. She reminded him, "Eat the noodles first. I have a gift for you." "What gift?" "I'll tell you after you finish the noodles." Hua Qinhuan stared at her for a long time. He was sure that she would only tell him after he finished eating. After hesitating for a moment, he picked up the bowl and ate silently. "Eat slowly. Don't stop eating." Su Yiyan was still a little worried when she saw him eating, so she reminded him. Hua Qinhuan didn't have much of an appetite, but he didn't eat much just now. Besides, the longevity noodles were meant for a festive occasion, so Su Yiyan didn't ask Aunt Fang to cook too much for him. This bowl was just enough to fill his stomach, so he finished it quickly. Su Yiyan saw that he finished the noodles obediently. She didn't continue to keep him in suspense. She mysteriously took out a gift box and put it in Hua Qinhuan's hand. Hua Qinhuan's eyes flashed. He opened the box and found a blue brooch lying inside. "This is the birthday gift I originally wanted to give you. It's a custom-made aqua blue 4-leaf clover brooch." The 4-leaf clover was also called lucky grass on ancient earth. Su Yiyan paused. She blushed slightly and smiled faintly. "No matter how much suffering and bumps you've encountered before, I hope you'll be more and more lucky and happy from now on." Hua Qinhuan touched the 4-leaf clover brooch in his hand, but his eyes were fixed on Su Yiyan. He smiled slightly and said, "Meeting you, falling in love with you, and having you is the greatest fortune in my life." Su Yiyan's face turned redder. While feeling sweet, she couldn't help but think, "That's because you don't know something else. Otherwise, you wouldn't be like this." Hua Qinhuan seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes flashed with anticipation. "Just now, was this the birthday present you were going to give me? Have you prepared anything else?" "Yes, there is another gift." "What?" Su Yiyan looked into Hua Qinhuan's eyes. After a while, she leaned over and whispered in his ear, "I'm pregnant." Hua Chenhuan's eyes narrowed. She didn't even know when the brooch in her hand had fallen off. Su Yiyan didn't hear Hua Chenhuan's response for a while, so the smile on her face faded a little. Aren't you happy? Hua Chenhuan suddenly woke up. Her face revealed a rare look of disbelief. What did you just say? I'm pregnant. It's been more than a month. Hua Chenhuan's entire body froze. After about 10 seconds, he stood up abruptly and began to pace back and forth. You're pregnant. You're pregnant. Su Yiyan was dizzy because of his pacing. She nodded again and confirmed, yes, I'm pregnant. Aren't you happy? I'm happy. Why wouldn't I be happy? You're pregnant. Why wouldn't I be happy? Hua Chenhuan paced a few times and finally calmed down a little. He suddenly squatted in front of Su Yiyan and held her hand tightly. I was so happy that I didn't react for a while. Seeing him like this, Su Yiyan finally felt relieved. She snorted and said, I don't know who didn't want to have a child so early because they didn't have enough time together. I was worried the whole afternoon because I was afraid that you wouldn't like this gift. Chapter 657. Hearing her words, Hua Chenhuan was also stunned. Thinking of what he had said at that time, he said with a guilty conscience, at that time, I also said to let nature take its course. You didn't expect to have a child so soon. Yes. Hua Chenhuan was still a little confused. He always felt that he was still in a dream, without any sense of reality. It was as if Su Yiyan suddenly wanted to marry him. Not only did he marry her, but he also had a child with her. This was the second time in his life that Hua Chenhuan felt as if he was floating on the clouds. It was very unreal. Are you really pregnant? Su Yiyan was amused by his repeated confirmation. She reached out and scratched his nose. Pretending to be angry, she said, can this kind of thing be fake? Are you going to be a mother? I'm going to be a father. Yes. Su Yiyan held his hand tightly and said with a serious face, it's been more than a month. It should be the time when we went up the mountain. Hua Chenhuan's face changed again when he heard that. He looked up at Su Yiyan. Could it be that your parents are giving us a hint? Hint? Hint that the past is the past, and we should start a new life. Hua Chenhuan stared at Su Yiyan. For a moment, he even thought that she had known something. You, Chenhuan. Su Yiyan interrupted him and took his hand to put on her flat belly. This is our future. I hope that you can love this child as much as your parents love you. So, let it go. No matter what happened in the past that made you sad, let it go. We will get better and better in the future, together with the child. Hua Chenhuan's heart suddenly trembled. Looking at Su Yiyan's face, some things that had been heavy in his heart seemed to gradually fall apart at this moment. Perhaps it was because she was pregnant, or perhaps it was because she had been busy for such a long time, but she finally got the result she wanted. Her tense nerves suddenly relaxed, and tiredness came over her. Su Yiyan had forgotten how she fell asleep that night. The next morning, in a daze, she seemed to see Hua Chenhuan get up. When she was about to open her eyes, she heard Hua Chenhuan's gentle coaxing. It's still early. Be good and sleep a little longer. Su Yiyan's eyelids couldn't be opened to begin with, so when she heard his words, she decisively fell asleep again. When he woke up again, it was almost 9 o'clock. Hua Chenhuan was nowhere to be found. She was not in the room. Su Yiyan yawned and washed up. Just as she walked out, she bumped into Qin Shuiru and Qing Juanhao. When the two of them saw Su Yiyan, their expressions became somewhat subtle. He's awake. Yes. Su Yiyan felt goosebumps all over his back when the two of them stared at him. He touched his face in confusion and said gloomily, What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? The two of you were quite intense last night. Ah. Su Yiyen was stunned for a few seconds before she couldn't help but exclaim, "Which eye of yours saw us last night, wasn't it?" The couple looked at each other blankly. Last night, the lights were still on in your room in the middle of the night. From outside, you could see Chenhuan walking around in the room, walking around, walking around, walking around. The Qing family's house was a little similar to a courtyard house. Most of the windows in the house were transparent. At night, when the curtains were drawn, although one couldn't see what was going on inside, if the people in the house walked close to the curtains, the people outside could still see their reflections by the window. Chapter 658. Last night, everyone in the house dispersed after a while and went back to their own homes. Qin Shuiru couldn't sleep too late because she was pregnant, so she went back to her room after everyone left. Qing Junhao noticed that Hu Chenhuan didn't look right at the banquet. He was a little worried when he went back to his room, so he waited for his wife to fall asleep and came out to check on their situation. In the end, he saw a figure walking around in their room like a hard-working bee. She walked around in circles for a long time, making him dizzy. Su Yiyen was also a little surprised when she heard Qing Junhao's description. She automatically imagined Hu Chenhuan walking around in circles in the room after she fell asleep, but she tried her best to control her emotions because she was afraid of waking her up. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. "It's not what you think. Last night, he was just too happy." The couple was silent for a moment and suddenly realized, no wonder. No wonder what? No wonder I saw that guy go out for a run early in the morning. I found it strange. It's 5 or 6 in the morning, and it's not even bright yet. Why would he run? So it's because you didn't welcome him last night. Ahem, I guess he was too energetic and held it in. When Qing Junhao said this, Su Yiyen's face turned as red as a ripe apple. Qin Shuiru pinched him hard and reminded him, "The child is here." "What are you talking about?" Qing Junhao cried out in pain and also remembered. He hurriedly touched his wife's big belly and said, "Yes, yes, yes. Dad was just joking, just joking. Baby, quickly forget, quickly forget." Su Yiyen listened to Qing Junhao's nagging and subconsciously touched the unformed life in her belly. She felt a little hopeless. This guy's first prenatal education class after being discovered was his granduncle's blatant nonsense. He better not be a womanizer when he's born. As they were talking, the person in question rushed in from outside. There were still some beads of sweat on his forehead, but his eyes were shockingly bright. "You're up. When did you get up? Are you hungry? Why don't you go in and lie down? I'll bring you breakfast. I asked Auntie Fong to make your favorite seafood porridge and red bean buns." Hu Chenhuan seemed to have thought of something. She paused and asked nervously, "Can you eat these now?" Su Yiyen was stunned for a few seconds before he finally realized that something was wrong with Rao. Last night, she felt that this guy's reaction was too dull, unlike those stay-at-home dads in TV dramas who jumped up and down with joy when they found out that their wives were pregnant. From the looks of it now, this person was simply slow by half a beat. Or perhaps he was stunned when he suddenly found out that she was pregnant and only came to his senses later. Su Yiyen was both angry and amused. "It's not like I'm seriously ill. Why can't I eat it?" Hu Chenhuan breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. I'll bring it over for you." "No need, I'll eat there myself." "Then I'll help you." Su Yiyen rolled her eyes at him. "I'm not disabled." It had only been a little more than a month and he was already so nervous. Wouldn't he hold her in his arms for the next 7 or 8 months and not let her get off the ground? Thinking of this possibility, Su Yiyen couldn't help but shiver. She quickly threw this idea out of her mind. Qin Shuiru listened to the couple's conversation from the side and was really confused. She asked nervously, Yen Yen, are you sick? Chapter 659. When Su Yiyen heard their words, she was also stunned. After she came to her senses, she chuckled and said, I'm fine. Where's Grandpa? The two glanced at Su Yiyen suspiciously, in the front room. Uncle, can you help me call Grandpa over? I have something to announce. Qing Juanhao frowned. Although he was puzzled, he obediently went over to call Grandpa. When almost everyone arrived, Hu Qinhuan also brought a few freshly heated buns from the kitchen for Su Yiyen to fill her stomach first. Old Master Cheng was also at a loss when he was called over unexpectedly. Yen Yen, what happened? Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just... Su Yiyen swallowed the bun in her mouth and said seriously, I'm pregnant. The room suddenly became quiet. Qin Shuiru and Qin Wanru, who originally thought that Su Yiyen was not feeling well and deliberately did not want them to worry, froze with worry on their faces. Old Master Cheng's eyes widened, and he could not react for a while. A few seconds later, Old Master Cheng was the first to react. He suddenly stood up, and the crutch in his hand fell on the floor with a muffled sound because of his movement. You're pregnant? Yes. Su Yiyen, who had seen her man's surprised and happy side last night, was very calm. She said with a smile, it's been more than a month. Qing Juanhao and Qin Shuiru also reacted at this time. They could not help laughing. You've been married to Qinhuan for more than half a year. It's time for you to have a child. Su Yiyen suddenly stopped eating the bun, and her face turned red. In the eyes of others, they had been married for more than half a year, but only the two of them knew that they really had sex more than a month ago. She was pregnant just a few days after they consummated their marriage. She had to admit that her man was also very powerful. No wonder she was so excited last night and got up early this morning to run several laps around our house. It turns out that it's because of this. If Qing Juanhao hadn't mentioned it, Su Yiyen wouldn't have thought of it. She turned to look at Hu Qinhuan with a faint smile. Hu Qinhuan felt guilty under her stare, but she did not refute it. After all, it was the truth. On the other hand, Qin Shuiru rolled her eyes at Qing Juanhao, feeling both angry and amused at the same time. She said mercilessly, all right, all right. To think that you have the nerve to make fun of others. When I was just pregnant, who was the one who got up in the middle of the night to lift a barbell? Do you really think I don't know anything when I'm asleep? Lifting barbells. Puff, Su Yiyen's too roused attention was instantly diverted, and the people who were being ridiculed also dropped one by one. Qing Juanhao had never expected that his secret, which he believed to be infallible, had already been discovered by his wife. He had never expected that his secret would be exposed in public at this time. He had really lifted a stone and smashed it on his own feet. He regretted it so much. My wife. At least give me some face in front of so many people. Qin Shuiru received her husband's pleading gaze. She smiled helplessly and turned her gaze to Su Yiyen again. Originally, I was worried that the baby would be all alone after he was born, and there wouldn't be anyone of the same age to play with. Now that Yen Yen also has a child, they can be companions in the future. Qing Juanhao couldn't help but laugh when he heard her words. They are indeed of the same age, but I'm afraid that our child's seniority is a little high. Su Yiyen's expression became a little subtle when she thought about the seniority. It's quite high indeed. After marrying Qinhuan, it's the first time that so many people of the same age and even older than me have called me aunt. Chapter 660. She was already an aunt. According to Hu Qinhuan's seniority, the guy in Qin Shuiru's stomach, who could be considered her cousin, would probably have a shockingly high seniority. Hu Qinhuan was caught off guard, and the expression on her face froze again. Because of this issue of seniority, he was always worried that Su Yiyan would despise him for being old. In the end, it was old Master Ching who saved him. There's nothing wrong with having a higher seniority. At least, with a higher seniority, only you can bully others, but others can't bully you. The few people present were stunned, but they had to admit that the older the ginger, the wiser. Wasn't that the advantage of having a higher seniority? If they really quarreled with juniors of the same age, the one with seniority would always be the one at a disadvantage. Regardless of who was right or wrong, it was enough to disgust you if you were labeled as disrespectful to your elders. Just like Hui Chihan, when he hated you, he couldn't wait to kill you and cut off all contact with you. But when he turned around and needed you or wanted to criticize you, he remembered that he was Hui Chenhuan's brother. One moment, he called them brothers, and the other, he called them family. It made people uncomfortable all over. The few of them just casually mentioned it and didn't dwell on it too much. After Su Yiyan ate 2 buns, the hot seafood porridge was served. Su Yiyan took a sip of the porridge and then seemed to think of something and asked in a low voice, "You woke up early in the morning to run laps. Have you eaten breakfast?" Hui Chenhuan's heart warmed, and a smile appeared on her face. "Yes, I've eaten. It's okay. This isn't filling up my stomach." Su Yiyan picked up a piece of wife biscuit from the plate on the side and handed it to Hui Chenhuan. "Your wife made you a wife biscuit. Do me the honor of eating one." Hui Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly, and there was a subtle change in the way she looked at the biscuit. Qing Juanhao and the others hadn't left yet. When they heard Su Yiyan's words, they immediately became interested. "This is the wife biscuit?" "Yes." Qin Shuiru also picked up a piece and looked at it. "You made it last night." "I don't think I saw this cake last night. I saw that there were enough things yesterday, so I didn't put them on the table. Also, this thing can't fill one's stomach and can't be used as a main meal. It's better to use it as breakfast or afternoon tea." Of course, the most important reason was that he was worried that his jealous lover would get jealous. It was fine if the wife pancakes were eaten by his own family, but it was better not to take them out. Qin Shuiru nodded and accepted her explanation. She lowered her head and took a bite of the biscuit in her hand. Her eyes lit up. "It's quite sweet, and it's a little loose. The texture is not bad." "Really? Let me try it too." Qing Juanhao hurriedly took one and stuffed it into his mouth. Ever since Qin Shuiru became pregnant, she had been eating a pregnant woman's meal and rarely ate these desserts. Qing Juanhao did not like to eat sweets, so he would not take the initiative to eat these things even if they were placed on the table. Because of Su Yiyan's words, she tried one. Wow, it was really quite delicious. Seeing that they were eating happily, Su Yiyan could not help but laugh. She handed the wife biscuit in her hand forward. Hui Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly, and he leaned over to bite it. The wife biscuit was not big to begin with, so it was not a problem for an adult to eat one whole. After Hui Chenhuan bit it, he directly stuffed the whole thing into his mouth. Su Yiyan was afraid that he would choke, so she hurriedly poured a glass of water for him. Slow down, slow down. If you like it, I'll make another one." "Okay." Hui Chenhuan agreed, then shook his head. "Let someone else do it. You rest." Chapter 661. Su Yiyan was slightly startled. She thought of Rao's nagging not long ago and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It doesn't take much to do this. You won't be tired." Hui Chenhuan was unexpectedly insistent. "Let them do it. You rest." Su Yiyan stared at Hui Chenhuan for a long time. Seeing that he was not joking, she had no choice but to compromise and appease her husband's inexplicably tense nerves. Hua Chenhuan saw that she agreed and subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Last night, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep. Not only did he walk around the room in the middle of the night, but he also checked a lot of things to pay attention to during pregnancy. One of them was that pregnant women shouldn't be too tired during pregnancy. The so-called tiredness was not easy to define. However, in Hua Chenhuan's eyes, anything that required Su Yiyan to do might tire her out. Su Yiyan guessed one thing right. If it weren't for the fact that Su Yiyan might be unhappy, someone really wanted her to not even get off the floor and let him carry her wherever she went. Qin Shuiru listened to the conversation of the newbie couple and was also quite interested. Chenhuan is right. You should pay attention to the first 3 months. You can't be tired. During this period, you'd better have a good rest. There's Aunt Fong at home. If there's anything you want to eat, you can ask her to help. You don't have to do it yourself. After that, she frowned and said regretfully, "You've been sleepy for half a month. We thought that it was because of the changes in qi that made people lazy, so we didn't think much about it. Now it seems that you're pregnant and you're showing symptoms." Now that she reminded them, the others also remembered. Su Yiyan felt even more guilty. Logically speaking, she should have known better than anyone else about the condition of her body. However, she didn't care at all at that time. She only thought that her period was coming. In addition, she always thought about what Uncle Zhang said before she left. She was focused on preparing for Hua Chenhuan's birthday and didn't think much about it. Now that she thought about it, her menstrual cycle had already passed for more than half a month. How careless must she have been to not think in that direction? Especially when she thought about what happened in the kitchen yesterday, Su Yiyan could not help but feel scared. If it were not for the system, she was afraid that she would have to live in guilt and regret for the rest of her life. The early stages of pregnancy are quite tiring. You've been running around a lot during this period of time. Fortunately, nothing happened. However, it was fine if he didn't know about it before, but now that he knew, he couldn't ignore it anymore. Listen to Chenhuan and rest well. Hua Chenhuan froze as soon as she heard Qin Shuiru's words. Her joy at knowing that Su Yiyan was pregnant was instantly drowned by guilt. During this period of time when they were together, Su Yiyan was careless and did not realize it early on. As her husband, he did not realize it at all. In the end, it was his dereliction of duty. Su Yiyan could tell what he was thinking at a glance. She did not care about anything else. She held his hand and said softly, "Okay, I'll be obedient from now on. I promise that I won't tire myself and the child out. Don't be so angry. Smile. If you don't know, you'll think that you're unhappy that I'm pregnant. I'm happy. If you're happy, then smile." Hua Chenhuan, Su Yiyan saw a trace of speechlessness in her man's eyes. She smiled slightly and picked up another wife biscuit to feed him. "Here, eat another one." Her original intention was to let Hua Chenhuan eat it and not mind. However, she did not expect that it would provoke the only lonely person present to complain bitterly. Poor old man. No one cares whether he ate breakfast or not. Humph. Chapter 662. The room fell silent again. Su Yiyan was still in the feeding position. He blinked and didn't know how to react to old Master Cheng's sudden resentment. Hua Chenhuan reacted in time. She picked up a piece of cake from the plate and handed it to old Master Cheng. She even flattered him with a strong desire to live. "Grandpa, you're smiling. No one in our family can starve but not you." Yes, yes, yes. I didn't ask you because I thought that you don't like to eat this kind of greasy cake. If I knew that you liked it, I would have gotten it for you first. How could he have gotten it? Old Master Cheng's expression became better when he heard that. He gave Hua Chenhuan a look that said, at least you know what's good for you. He snorted arrogantly and took the cake in his hand. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. They knew that they had passed this stage. Ching Juanhao almost couldn't hold back his laughter when he saw this scene. Who asked you to show off your love in front of old Master Ching? You've hit the muzzle of a gun. Qin Shuiru glanced at him warningly and changed the topic. She asked with a smile, have you told Shuqin and the others about your pregnancy? Not yet. I just found out yesterday. I'll tell them later. That's good. Your parents will be very happy when they know about this. Qin Shuiru nodded and said, I have to go to the hospital in 2 days. You can go with me. It'll be safer for you to get a checkup. Qin Shuiru's due date was approaching, and it was only a few days away. She was considered an advanced pregnant woman at this age. Her family was more nervous. They had booked the delivery room in advance and were prepared to go to the hospital early to wait for delivery, just in case. Although Su Yiyan had helped her nurse this pregnancy, there was a saying that went, a doctor doesn't treat himself. No matter how good a doctor was, if they were really sick, they would often have to ask others for help. Moreover, Su Yiyan wasn't a doctor yet. It would be safer for him to go with her for a checkup. Shuiru is right. It's better to go to the hospital for a checkup. If there's really no problem, and you don't want to go to the hospital in the future, there's a detector at home. It'll be the same. When Qin Shuiru was pregnant, Qing Juanhao was also extremely nervous. He even specially bought a table-type detector back so that he could know the physical condition of this one at any time. Now that Qin Shuiru was about to give birth, this detector was no longer needed. It just so happened that it could be given to Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan knew that they were concerned about him, so he didn't refuse and nodded obediently. After they finished talking, they did not disturb her breakfast. They got up and left one after another, leaving Hu Chenhuan to accompany her. Su Yiyan was afraid that she would get bored and overthink things again if she stayed by his side. She told him to call her parents and tell them that she was pregnant. Qing Shuqin and the others were very happy when they found out that Su Yiyan was pregnant, just as Qin Shuiru had expected. If Su Yiyan hadn't comforted him for a long time, Qing Shuqin would have wanted to book a plane ticket and fly over immediately. It wasn't easy to coax them. Su Yiyan finally finished this somewhat late breakfast and touched her stomach in satisfaction. Should we tell Uncle Zhang? Su Yiyan still had relatives to inform. Although Hu Chenhuan had an elder brother, it was better not to having. Of course, they didn't need to inform him of such a happy event. Otherwise, he might think that they were deliberately showing off to him. After thinking about it, it seemed that only Uncle Zhang could inform him. Chapter 663. Hu Chenhuan was obviously thinking the same thing as Su Yiyan. After a moment of silence, she replied in a low voice, I'll tell him later. Okay. Su Yiyan blinked, looking confused. She didn't know if it was her imagination, but she felt that when Hu Chenhuan said that, there was a faint hint of eagerness. Before Su Yiyan could probe further, Dun Dun walked in from outside, swaying its round butt. Su Yiyan looked at her dog Sun and chuckled. She scooped up the cub and happily rubbed it from head to toe. Dun Dun's dog face was dazed by the rubbing. It didn't know how to react and just let Su Yiyan touch it up and down. Su Yiyan was done rubbing it before she smiled and gave it a piece of bad news. Baby, we're going to have a new cub soon. You're going to have a younger brother or sister soon. Are you happy? Dun Dun. What the hell? It had just gone out for a walk, and there was already a demon competing with it for attention. Dun Dun, who had a strong sense of crisis, was about to struggle when its dog father grabbed it by the scruff of its neck and lifted it out of Master Rao's arms. According to the data, cats and dogs have bacteria on them. Dun Dun. Su Yiyan was also stunned. Ha! It's not good for the development of the fetus. Really? Yes. Hua Qinhua nodded with a serious face and pointed out the main point. You should hold it less during this period. Okay. Poor Dun Dun, who had been favored for more than a year, was suddenly banished to the cold palace. The entire dog's life dimmed. Why? When that iron lump came, it didn't even lose its favor. This new demon had caused it to be banished to the cold palace. What kind of logic was this? Dun Dun, who had lost its favor so suddenly, seemed to have lost the joy of life. It missed its other half who was far away in a foreign land. There was no way he could continue living like this. Su Yiyan didn't know that her drama queen dog had already cursed countless times in her heart. Since Hua Qinhuan had already gone this far, she couldn't not cooperate. She could only apologize to Dun Dun in her heart. She would make it up to him after she gave birth to the baby. Su Yiyan went back to her room after breakfast. Hua Qinhuan watched her enter her room before she called Uncle Zhang. At this time, Uncle Zhang was also concerned about their movements. During the period when Su Yiyan was in the Qing family, he had called him several times and talked about their situation in the Qing family. Seeing that Hua Qinhuan's birthday was approaching, Uncle Zhang's heart was in his throat. The day after his birthday, he received a call from Hua Qinhuan. Uncle Zhang's first reaction was that his young master already knew that he was the one who leaked the news and urged young madam to celebrate his birthday. Whether Hua Qinhuan celebrated his birthday or not, he was afraid that he would be blamed. Uncle Zhang was already mentally prepared and didn't regret it. He took a deep breath and picked up the phone. Young master. Unexpectedly, Hua Qinhuan didn't immediately criticize him. Instead, he was silent for a long time before he said, I have something to tell you. Yan Yan is pregnant. The expected reprimand didn't come. Uncle Zhang was stunned for a while before he could digest Hua Qinhuan's words. Your young madam. Young madam, hearing Uncle Zhang's surprise, Hua Qinhuan couldn't help but smile. Yes, she's pregnant. It's been more than a month. Chapter 664. Thank you. Uncle Zhang's eyes were slightly red, and his voice was a little unsteady. Master and Madam will definitely be happy when they know about this. There was a long silence in response. Only then did Uncle Zhang realize that he had been overjoyed and said what was on his mind. Just as he was wondering how to remedy the situation, he heard Hua Qinhuan reply, Yes. Young master. You're right. Uncle Zhang's eyes were hot again when he heard that. He found his voice again and smiled faintly. Is young madam all right? Do you need me or a few servants from home to take care of her? No need, I can take good care of her. Uncle Zhang thought about it and did not force him. Then you and young madam must take care of yourselves. Yes. Hua Qinhuan seemed to have thought of something. Don't tell Xiaoyang and the others about this first. I'll find a chance to tell them personally. Uncle Zhang suddenly realized that his young master had the vanity of a person his age. How could he not fulfill his young master's wish to show off this happy news to others personally? Okay. Don't worry, I'll help you and young madam keep this a secret. Yes. Hua Qinhuan replied in a low voice, his eyes flickering. And welcome, and thank you. Thank you for taking care of me all these years, and thank you for your concern and help. Hua Qinhuan hung up after saying that, leaving Uncle Zhang stunned on the spot. It took him a while to react, and he cried and laughed at the same time. Hua Qinhuan returned to the room after telling Uncle Zhang about Su Yiyan's pregnancy. At that time, Su Yiyan was busy drawing prizes for the cute fans in the comment section. After Su Yiyan finished recording the video, he set a timer. Last night, when they were busy celebrating Hua Qinhuan's birthday, the video was automatically uploaded. At a glance, there were rows and rows of sour lemons in the comments section. In order to give her husband a surprise, she broadcasted the video live. I'm jealous. Not only is there a wife biscuit, there's also husband and wife long slice. You guys can show off just by making a dish. I'm convinced. I am a male, a PhD graduate from XX University, 28 years old this year, single. I'm in a hurry to find a girlfriend. I don't ask for much, as long as my wife can personally make me a bowl of longevity noodles every year on my birthday. If you're interested, please contact me privately. Everything I said is true. I don't deceive the old or the young. If you are not sincere, please do not disturb me. Su Yiyan was happily reading the comments when Hua Qinhuan came over. What are you looking at? I took a video of the cake making process yesterday and uploaded it to the website. I even agreed to pick a few audience members to give me gifts in the comments section. I was just reading the comments. As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, she sensed that something was wrong. She looked up and saw her man's dark face. What happened? Drawing and giving out gifts. Yeah. The food I made for you. That's right. Including wife biscuits. When Su Yiyan heard this, he finally understood why Hua Qinhuan was angry. Not long ago, he had joked that the biscuits were made by his wife. If he gave away the biscuits made by his wife to another man, did he want to be Hua Qinhuan's wife? Hua Qinhuan, who felt like he was being cheated on, could not tolerate it. Pfft. Su Yiyan understood this and could not help but laugh. After laughing, he put his arm around Hua Qinhuan's neck and comforted him. No, don't worry. The wife biscuits are not a prize. Chapter 665. Yesterday afternoon, after she finished making the wife biscuits, she thought of a certain vinegar, so she emphasized that the wife biscuits would not be part of the lucky draw. Those who were interested could try to make them themselves, or buy them from the store later. The same went for the longevity noodles. Considering that the noodles were easy to burn after a long time, they would not be part of the lucky draw prizes. Hua Qinhuan's expression became better, but he still frowned and said, "Let Aunt Fong help you. Don't do it yourself." The dishes that Su Yiyan made yesterday, including the big cake, were all finished except for the wife biscuits that were not brought out. After the lucky draw today, she would definitely make new ones and send them out. Hua Qinhuan's wife and children were the most important, so he was not willing to let Su Yiyan cook for them. Su Yiyan heard this and thought that there were only 3 audience members, so it would not take much effort to make 3 dishes. Then she thought of Hua Qinhuan's nagging and the danger yesterday, so she silently swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue and compromised. Okay, I'll let Aunt Fong do it. I won't do it. I'll watch from the side and guide her. Is that okay? Hua Qinhuan's expression became better, although he hoped that Su Yiyan would not even enter the kitchen. But he also knew that this was Su Yiyan's bottom line, so he hesitated for a moment and nodded. Don't tire yourself out. You can put work aside. I'll take care of you. Not only do you have to take care of me, but you also have to take care of our baby. Su Yiyan looked at Hua Qinhuan and chuckled. You're the pillar of our family. Take advantage of this time to work hard to earn money for our baby's milk powder. It's expensive to raise a baby. Okay. Hua Qinhuan looked at his wife's calculating and money-grubbing manner and could not help but be infected. He began to imagine the scene after the baby was born. When we go back, I'll ask Uncle Zhang to clean up a baby's room. Prepare the crib, stroller, milk powder, and diapers in advance. Also, tidy up the game room, there's no need to be so early. It's only been a little over a month. When we go back, it'll only be 3 months at most. There's still half a year left. Besides, you don't even know if the child is a boy or a girl. What if the child is the opposite of what you've guessed? What's there to worry about? What did you do when you brought the clothes for your aunt? Clothes are clothes, and rooms are rooms. You can change your clothes if you don't like them, but it's not easy to change the room after it's set up. Hua Chenhuan narrowed her eyes and said meaningfully, even if we don't consider this, there are still other solutions. Anything else? Make another one. Su Yiyan was stunned. Her eyes widened as she looked at Hua Chenhuan in astonishment. WH. What? If we give birth to a boy this time, then we'll work hard and have a girl. If she gave birth to a girl this time, she would give birth to another girl. We'll prepare 2 rooms at a time. It won't be a waste. Su Yiyan was stunned by Hua Chenhuan's exorbitant demand. Who was the one who wanted to spend more time with her and did not want to have a child too early and share her energy and love? Now, one of them had just been pregnant, and he was already thinking about the second one. Men were really good at lying. Besides, how do you know if this baby is a boy or a girl, and the next one will be of different genders? Su Yiyan rolled her eyes at Hua Chenhuan and said with disdain, "You wish." It was impossible for her to have a second child, not in this lifetime. Chapter 666. Only 3 people were selected in the comments section, and the people who were selected were the luckiest of the luckiest. Soon the list of the 3 people came out. The corresponding 3 prizes were husband and wife long slice, saliva chicken and a miniature 4-inch cake. However, Su Yiyan would never have thought that this 4-inch cake would appear on Dou Yi's desk. This is what the anchor made. Li Yu stood in front of the desk. He looked a little nervous. Yes. But this time it's a recorded broadcast, the second prize will be selected. It may not be made by the anchor. And this time the anchor seems to be specially prepared for her husband's birthday. The food is not a medicated diet. Maybe there is no way to verify it immediately. Dou Yi's expression was uncertain, he didn't say anything. Li Yu's heart followed by half. No harm, next time pay attention. Li Yu was relieved, then his eyes couldn't help but drift to the cake on the table. That cake. Dou Yi raised his eyebrows, he saw through his thoughts. You want to eat it? Li Yu's face was stiff, but he didn't refute. Obviously he was hit by Dou Yi. Leave the cake, you go out first. Li Yu, who had been with Dou Yi for a long time, couldn't help but show a disappointed look. Since the cake was left, he certainly didn't have a share. Obviously it was expected, but when the last hope was broken, he was still disappointed. One had to know that he had carried this thing all the way back, and the subtle fragrance that wafted out from time to time really tested his professional cultivation as a secretary. It almost caused him to lose control, forget his duty, and lay his hands on it on the way back. Dou Yi looked at Li Yu's reluctance to leave. She turned her head 3 times to look back. His eyes were filled with interest. When Li Yu left the office, Dou Yi reached out and moved the cake to the front. The fluffy bread was covered with a layer of white cream. Because of the hot air, the cream edge was a little melted. On top of the cream, there were 3 big strawberries, bright and fresh. It looked particularly juicy. Dou Yi opened the box outside the cake, his eyes fell on the video on the desktop screen. It was playing Su Yiyan's video recording, and it had already reached the end of the video, where she made the longevity noodles. This part was edited by Su Yiyan. Only the process of making the noodles and the explanation of the longevity noodles were shown. She had cut out the part where she almost fell down. Since she wasn't the one who made the noodles, the video didn't capture the final product. It was only after the lucky draw that Su Yiyan asked Aunt Fong for the video she recorded after cooking the noodles yesterday and posted it in the comment section. Longevity noodles. Aw. Doi looked at the bowl of noodles in the comment section, deep in thought. For someone like him who was sentenced to death the moment he was born, wasn't longevity an unattainable dream? Thinking of this, Doi forked a piece of cake and put it into his mouth. Sweet, soft, delicate, exquisite, and warm. It was completely different from the food that a certain someone had made with ulterior motives. For a moment, Doi suddenly felt a little envious of that man. That man was deeply loved by his wife. She tried her best to make a table full of novel food, just to give him an unforgettable birthday. Chapter 667. Hu Qinhuan wanted to find an appropriate time to reveal Su Yiyan's pregnancy to Gu Xiaoyang and the others. But in fact, his eagerness to show off didn't allow him to wait too long. The next morning, during the weekly high-level video meeting, many people noticed that their boss had been absent-minded during the meeting. Originally, they wanted to briefly report the work at hand so that their boss could spend more time with their lady boss. But now, they suddenly became nervous. They were afraid that they would accidentally poke their boss's sore spot and unfortunately become cannon fodder. Just when everyone was trembling with fear that they would be caught doing something wrong, a familiar figure suddenly flashed by outside the camera. Then, their boss had a plate of exquisite snacks and a glass of freshly squeezed juice in his hand. It was Madam. The employees on the other side of the screen thought at the same time. This was not the first time that Su Yiyan saw Hu Qinhuan holding a meeting with his company's employees. Hu Qinhuan's company was run by Gu Xiaoyang and a few other backbones, so nothing would go wrong. But no matter how dignified a boss was, it was unrealistic for him to be absent from work for a month or two and ignore everything in the company. So basically, Hu Qinhuan would hold a meeting with them every few days to get a general understanding of the company's operating situation and to solve some important matters that they couldn't make decisions on. But usually, at this time, Su Yiyan would also come over to deliver some things, but she rarely appeared on camera. Hu Qinhuan also didn't like the company's employees peeping at his wife. But today, when Su Yiyan put down the snacks and was about to leave, Hu Qinhuan grabbed her hand. Did you make this? Su Yiyan was slightly startled. She quickly shook her head and explained, No, Aunt Fong made it. I tasted it and thought that you might like it, so I brought it to you. Although the people outside the screen couldn't see Su Yiyan's face, they could hear her voice. Upon hearing that, he instantly turned into a lemon juice. Although the young madam didn't make it herself, the dessert looked delicious. When other people were working, their wives would bring them food, ask about their well-being, and be considerate. When they were working, they only had cold nutrient solutions to accompany them. This difference, cough. Actually, it wasn't that big. It was just a short distance away. But how many wives like Madam could one find in this world? Sob, working so hard and being abused to the point that the single dogs shut themselves up. Hu Qinhuan's tense expression eased a little. She reached out to touch Su Yiyan's belly and asked gently, Did the child disturb you today? The company executives. Children. Madam's relative has already given birth to a child. Su Yiyan was also stunned by her question. She immediately grabbed a certain someone's hand and rebuked, What are you doing? It's only the size of a pearl now. Are you saying that you're making a fuss because you're afraid it'll hurt me? Hu Qinhuan, the company executives on the other end of the screen, Hu Qinhuan, who had failed to show off and was instead despised, was embarrassed. She coughed lightly and was about to say something to remedy the situation when she heard a cry of surprise from the other end. Child. Is Madam pregnant? This cry could be said to be earth-shattering, and the company's exclamations instantly rose and fell. Hua Qinhuan straightened his face and raised his eyebrows a little. Very good, this is the reaction I wanted. Chapter 668. Su Yiyan saw the change in his expression, but in order not to expose Hua Qinhuan, she had a hard time holding back her laughter. Okay, you continue with your work. I'm going to eat something. I'm a little hungry. When Hua Qinhuan heard that Su Yiyan was hungry, he stopped showing off to his subordinates and got up to go with Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan blinked and asked in confusion, "You're hungry too?" "I'll eat with you." Su Yiyan couldn't help laughing. "No, I'm not a child. I don't need someone to eat with me. You have a meeting with them first. Business is more important." When the employees on the other end of the screen heard her words, they were jealous again. Mrs. Hua was really gentle, considerate, kind, and generous. She also cared about the overall situation. Why did Mrs. Hua like their boss? The jealous male employees counted their boss's 120 shortcomings in their heads. The more they counted, the more jealous they felt. Because even if their boss had 120 shortcomings, he still married Mrs. Hua. Oh, how infuriating. Hua Qinhuan had no idea how jealous his employees were of him now. Seeing that Su Yiyan insisted, he couldn't say anything else. He counted the number and let her go first. As soon as Su Yiyan left, Hua Qinhuan's expression changed significantly. He instantly became impatient. Several senior executives were also smart and immediately flattered him. Mrs. Hua is pregnant. Congratulations. President Hua and Mrs. Hua are having a baby so soon. It's obvious that they are very close. Congratulations. Hee, the boss is amazing. If I remember correctly, Mrs. Hua and the boss have been married for less than a year. How many months has she been pregnant so soon? Hua Qinhuan's expression became better, more than a month. She's just pregnant. She has to take good care of herself. They were all smart people. Seeing that Hua Qinhuan's attention was on Mrs. Hua, they were no longer as hesitant as before. Instead, they simplified the report as much as possible. He finished the report early and sent someone to take care of Madam. Hua Qinhuan was quite satisfied with this result. She gave everyone a rare gentle smile, scaring quite a few people. As soon as they heard that the meeting was adjourned, they immediately logged off without any hesitation. However, not everyone was so tactful. Gu Xiaoyang and the other two were still online. Hua Qinhuan glanced at the three of them and frowned. Is there anything else? Gu Xiaoyang chuckled. Young master, young madam's pregnancy is such a joyous occasion. Shouldn't we celebrate it? How do you want to celebrate? Of course, it's better to be happy together than to be happy alone. Yuzian smiled shyly and said, young madam is pregnant. If young madam is happy, young master must be very happy too. Since you're so happy, can you give us some benefits so that we can share your good fortune? Hua Qinhuan glanced at him coldly and sneered. If all the good fortune is taken away by you, what about our baby? Yuzian choked. He couldn't believe that his young master had learned the secret of arguing without anyone teaching him. Gu Xiaoyang was amused by this stupid teammate of his. How could he ask for benefits so directly? Didn't he deserve to be scolded? This guy had always praised young Madame Hua, but at this critical moment, he dropped the ball. Just as they were about to remedy the situation, Hua Qinhuan spoke first impatiently, everyone will get an extra month's salary this month. Yuzian and Gu Xiaoyang looked bitter. What they wanted was not the money, but other benefits. Chapter 669. However, when they saw the disdain and indifference in their boss's eyes, they silently swallowed the words that were on the tip of their tongue. Fine, I'll give you a raise. It's better than nothing. Seeing that the two of them had given up, Sui Yanbai felt a little disappointed and decisively abandoned them. Young master, young madam is pregnant. Is there anything we can do to help? Hua Qinhuan pondered for a moment and said, help me find a few reliable books for pregnant women. Okay, I'll find them for you in a while. Hua Qinhuan looked at him with appreciation and said, when it's done, I'll ask the restaurant to send you some food. As the man behind the boss, Hua Qinhuan still had this privilege. After leaving such a promise, Hua Qinhuan went offline, leaving Yu Zian and Gu Xiaoyang dumbfounded. What was going on? They had done a lot of thankless work, but someone had coaxed their young master into giving him a red light with just a few words. Yu Zian's face turned red and he was furious. Why? Why did they get a raise, but someone got to get something from their young master? Why? Sui Yanbai glanced at the two of them proudly and disdainfully. Probably because of their IQ. Sui Yanbai immediately went offline after ridiculing them, not giving them a chance to refute him at all. Yu Zian and Gu Xiaoyang looked at each other and beat their chests and stamped their feet at the same time. They regretted it so much. Qin Shuiru went to the hospital 3 days after Hua Qinhuan's birthday to wait for delivery. Considering that Su Yiyan was pregnant and couldn't take care of the baby, Qing Shuqin rushed over the night before. Hua Qinhuan accompanied Su Yiyan to do various checkups. After confirming that she and the baby were fine, she stayed in the hospital to take care of Qin Shuiru. However, early the next morning, Qin Shuiru suddenly had a stomachache and was sent to the delivery room. When Su Yiyan heard the news, she was really worried and hurried to the hospital. A few minutes later, Qing Juanhao and Qing Shuqin were already waiting outside the delivery room. Seeing Su Yiyan coming over, Qing Shuqin frowned and scolded, "Why are you here? Didn't I tell you to rest at home? You too, why did you bring her here?" Seeing that Qing Shuqin was blaming Hua Qinhuan, Su Yiyan hurriedly defended him, "I asked him to bring me here. Auntie, giving birth to a baby is such a big matter. Even if I stay at home, I will always be thinking about it. I might as well come over and accompany you. Anyway, it's already bright, and there are still seats here. I won't be tired." Qing Shuqin still had a look of disapproval on his face, but he couldn't dissuade his daughter, so he didn't say anything more. Su Yiyan saw that she did not pursue the matter any further, and hurriedly changed the topic. "How is aunt? Isn't there still a few days before the due date? How can it be so accurate?" "It's normal to have it a few days earlier or later. This morning, she suddenly started to have pain. Fortunately, your uncle has been accompanying her in bed the whole time and sent her over without much delay. Is she okay now? How long has she been in there?" "She has been in there for a while. Your aunt isn't old and belongs to the elderly category. It's more dangerous for her to give birth compared to a young woman. If it's a little later and she really can't do it, she can only choose to have a cesarean section." Cesarean section. Unexpectedly, the one who had a bigger reaction to this was not Su Yiyan, but Hua Qinhuan. When Qing Shuqin heard his question, he thought that he was surprised by Qin Shuiru's delivery method. He sighed and said, "Shuiru's body is weak, and this is her first child. It's already difficult to give birth. She doesn't have enough stamina. If necessary, she can only rely on external forces and have a cesarean section." Chapter 670. Cesarean meant to cut open the belly and then take out the child. Hua Qinhuan realized belatedly that carrying the child for 10 months was not enough. After 10 months, the child had to be taken out from Su Yiyan's belly. Thinking of this, his face turned as white as a sheet of paper, faintly showing signs of turning green. Su Yiyan heard his words and looked a little dignified. She sighed and turned her head to see her man's pale face. "What's wrong? Why do you look so pale?" Hua Qinhuan grabbed Su Yiyan's outstretched hand and said hoarsely, after giving birth to this one, we won't have any more. Huh? Su Yiyen was confused. Who was the one who wanted a second child? How long has it been, and you changed your mind? Hua Qinhuan pursed his lips and said nothing. Su Yiyen calmed down and thought for a while. Soon, he understood his concern and asked in a low voice, "Are you scared? We'll give birth to this one, and we won't have any more." In fact, if this child threatened Su Yiyen's safety, Hua Qinhuan did not want to keep it. In his opinion, no one was more important than his wife. But he also knew that if he really said this, the first one to disagree would be Su Yiyen. Su Yiyen could probably guess what he was thinking. He sighed and said, okay, I'll listen to you. We'll give birth to this one, and we won't have any more. Qing Shuqin sat aside and listened to his daughter coaxing his son-in-law. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He inexplicably felt that his precious daughter was carrying a baby in her belly and holding another baby beside her. However, it was also a good thing that his son-in-law knew how to love his daughter. Now that he saw how other people gave birth, he would know how hard it was for a woman to get pregnant and give birth. In the future, he would love his daughter more. Su Yiyen and the others were relatively calm. Although they were worried, they still sat on the chairs and waited patiently. Qing Juanhao, on the other hand, was pacing back and forth anxiously like an ant on a hot pan. In just a short while, he had paced back and forth a few times. Su Yiyen was dazzled by his anxiousness. "Uncle, you should sit down and rest for a while. If you keep walking around like this, you'll get tired. When Auntie and the baby come out, how will you have the strength to take care of them?" Even though that was the case, when it came down to it, how many people could really stand aside and watch while the people they cared about were suffering inside? After pausing for a while, Qing Juanhao couldn't help but walk back and forth. In the end, Qing Shuqin had to personally press him down on the seat before he stopped. Su Yiyen and the others waited outside for about 2 hours before there was finally some movement inside. The door of the delivery room opened, and the first thing that was carried out was a young baby. Qing Juanhao immediately went to greet them. "Are you a family member of the pregnant woman?" "It's a boy. Both mother and child are safe." "Congratulations." Qing Juanhao's anxious heart finally settled down, and he hurriedly thanked them. The newborn baby's red skin was so fragile that it seemed like it would break with a touch. Qing Juanhao stretched out half of his hand but didn't dare to touch him. In the end, it was Qing Shuqin who came over and hugged the baby. He said with a smile, "This child's face shape is like yours, and his eyebrows and eyes are like Shueru's. When he grows up, he'll definitely be a handsome man." Su Yiyen and Qing Shuqin subconsciously leaned forward to take a look. They really couldn't tell how this monkey-like baby resembled her uncle and aunt. Could it be that these adults all had facial recognition systems? Chapter 671. The newborn baby had to be brought to the nursery for observation. The nurse did not stay outside for too long and left with the baby. Qing Shuqin followed the nurse to escort the child over. Qing Juanhao, Su Yiyen, and the rest continued to wait outside the delivery room for Qin Shuiru to come out. Not long after, Qin Shuiru was pushed out. The anesthesia was not over yet and Qin Shuiru had not woken up yet. Su Yiyen and Qing Juanhao went over to take a look. After confirming that she was fine, they replied to Old Master Qing with the good news. Old Master Qing was old after all. Su Yiyen and the rest were worried about him coming to the hospital to accompany him, so they asked him to wait for news at home. The moment he received Su Yiyen's news and learned that the mother and child were safe, Old Master Chang's eyes turned red. For an old man like him, who wouldn't want to have more children to play with and play with his grandchildren? At first, he was worried that his daughter-in-law would be stressed and embarrassed. Later, he gradually became indifferent. He was also afraid that the two children would take things too hard and affect their relationship, so he didn't dare to do it. He thought that he would never be able to see his biological grandson in this lifetime. Who would have thought that there would be a turn of events and that his long-cherished wish would be fulfilled? Old Master Ching wanted to go to the hospital the moment he received the news. Su Yiyen managed to coax him. They agreed that once Qin Shuiru woke up, she would inform him immediately and ask him to come over to see the baby. Giving birth was physically taxing. Qin Shuiru only woke up in the afternoon. After the anesthesia, she did not feel very well. Where's the child? Qing Juanhao had been by her side the whole time. When he heard her question, he immediately held her hand and said, "Sister is watching. If you want to see him, I'll get her to bring him over later." Qin Shuiru heaved a sigh of relief and asked curiously, "Is it a boy or a girl?" "It's a boy." "A boy." Qin Shuiru was a little surprised and a little disappointed. When sister was pregnant with Yan Yan, the child was very energetic. "I thought it was a girl." Qing Shuqin guessed that Qin Shuiru was about to wake up. She walked over with the child in her arms and overheard their conversation. She couldn't help but laugh and say, "How can that be accurate? In the end, it still depends on fate. Could it be that you don't like boys? Then our baby will be sad. Look at how much he resembles you and Junhao." Qin Shuiru was just saying it casually. How could she not like her own baby? Hearing Qing Shuqin's words, Qin Shuiru curiously turned her head and looked over. She moved her body and wanted to lean over. Qing Shuqin was afraid that she would pull on her wound, so he hurriedly said, "Don't move. I'll carry it over for you. There's no rush." When Qin Shuiru heard this, she did not move anymore and watched helplessly as she placed the child beside her pillow. This guy had just been born not long ago, and his eyes were still closed. It was unknown whether he was sleeping or temporarily unable to open his eyes. Qin Shuiru looked at this thing and felt her heart soften. When Su Yiyen and Su Yiyen heard the commotion outside, they immediately called Old Master Qing. Old Master Qing had probably been thinking about this matter the whole time, so he hurried over. As soon as she entered the room, she asked Qin Shuiru with concern, "How are you feeling? Are you all right?" After getting an affirmative answer, she shifted her attention to the child. Looking at the baby in the cradle by the bed, she hurriedly praised, "His eyebrows and eyes look like Shuiru's, but his mouth and nose look more like Junhao's. He picked the two of you to grow up in. What a smart guy." Su Yiyen looked surprised and amused. "My mother is like this, and so are you. It looks like it can't be wrong." Chapter 672. When Qing Shuqin heard Su Yiyen's words, he misunderstood that she thought that the child did not look like Qin Shuiru and Qin Shuiru, and did not look like the two children. "What's wrong? One look and I can tell that this child is your uncle and aunt's biological child. I followed the child all the way from the delivery room to the nursery. I also watched him all the way. How could you have mistaken him for someone else?" Su Yiyen was embarrassed and said helplessly, "Mom, that's not what I meant. I'm just curious. This child is so young and his features are not even fully developed. How can you and Grandpa see any resemblance between him and Uncle and Aunt?" The moment Su Yiyen finished speaking, Qing Shuqin rolled his eyes at her. "What does a child like you know? You don't have any eyesight at all. What can you see?" Su Yiyen. "Mom, I'm not a child anymore. I already have my own baby." The corner of Su Yiyen's mouth twitched. She turned her head and threw herself into her man's arms. She sighed and said, "Sure enough, now that I have a cousin, I'm no longer the prettiest baby in this family. My mom has never despised me in the past." Hua Chenwan played along with her performance and reached out to touch her head. She smiled and said, "I won't despise you. Never will." "What who?" Before Qing Shuqin could say anything, Old Master Qing had already scolded her jokingly. "No matter how many children there are in the family, in our eyes, you will always be the most precious one." Qin Shueru also echoed, "Isn't that so? When I heard that it was a boy, I felt that it was a pity. I was afraid that this boy would be too mischievous and Jun Hao and I wouldn't be able to take it. Girls are more obedient." When Qing Shuqin heard this, she could not help but laugh. "Actually, it's the same whether it's a boy or a girl. You have a good personality. If this child takes after you, he will definitely be obedient. If he takes after Jun Hao, then it may not be so. They're both nephew and uncle. Our Yuxuan's personality is just like Jun Hao's. At that time, he was so naughty that even I felt embarrassed." Su Yuxuan, who was suddenly mentioned. "Don't cue me for no reason. Please let me be beautiful alone, thank you." "Sis." Qing Juanhao was a little depressed when he was suddenly dissed. "You're a father after all. Save me some face." Everyone present was amused by Qing Juanhao's words, and the ward was filled with laughter. Qin Shueru had just woken up and her energy was limited. Furthermore, after the anesthesia wore off, her body was definitely not feeling well. After a few words, she was already exhausted. Unfortunately, she couldn't eat anything at this moment, so she could only try her best to conserve her energy and slowly endure it. Qing Juanhao could not share her burden, so he could only sit beside her and accompany her silently. Su Yayan was worried that Hu Chenhuan would continue to stay in the ward and explode when he saw Qin Shuer like this, so she brought him home with the old master. Qing Shuqin stayed behind so that the two of them and the children could help them if they needed anything at night. Although Su Yiyan had the foresight to leave with Hu Chenhuan in advance, everything in the hospital still had a certain impact on her. For a long time after that, Hu Chenhuan was overly worried about her, causing Su Yiyan to not know whether to laugh or cry. Because of the C-section, Qin Shueru rested in the hospital for a whole week before returning home. After that, she ate all kinds of nourishing food. After a month of confinement, not only did Qin Shueru eat until her face was rosy, even Qing Juanhao had gained a few pounds from eating. Su Yiyan also wanted to eat, but unfortunately, she started to have morning sickness from the second month. After a month, not only did she not gain weight, she even lost a few pounds. Hu Chenhuan was so anxious that her mouth was bubbling. Chapter 673. Fortunately, this situation didn't last for too long. After suffering for about a month, she slowly recovered. The news that the current head of the Qing family finally had a child of his own quickly spread through the upper echelons of society. Many people were surprised, but they were also curious about this matter. They began to secretly inquire about the Qing family. Some of the Qing family's business partners and friends even called Old Master Qing. Old Master Qing dealt with a few groups of people. Although he was proud of himself, he was also a little annoyed. He decided to take advantage of the child's 1-month-old celebration to hold a large-scale banquet and invite all his relatives, friends, and business partners to officially announce the existence of this child. The Qing family's success attracted a lot of attention. For this banquet, the Qing family specially booked a huge venue and decorated it with an ocean-themed fantasy kingdom with an azure background. It matched the family's name, Qinghaizhou. At 6:00 on the night of the celebration, the invited guests arrived one after another. Su Yiyan wasn't the main star of this banquet. She was pregnant, so she didn't welcome the guests with Qin Shueru and Hu Jinyao. Instead, she pulled Hu Chenhuan to a corner and looked at Old Master Qing, who was in high spirits because of the compliments from his old friends. Qing Juanhao and his wife were all smiles as they greeted the guests. This guy had been raised for a month. Although he was still a puppy, he didn't blush like a monkey like before. His white and chubby face coupled with his big black grape-like eyes was very cute. Especially when those eyes looked at you, Rao Aksayan couldn't help but soften a little. She couldn't help but want to give him all the good things. This guy wasn't afraid of people. He didn't cry even after being hugged by Chinshueru. Occasionally, he would smile happily and show his bare teeth to the guests. Are you hungry? Hua Qinhuan pushed a plate of snacks in front of Su Yiyan, ready to feed her at any time. Most of the food at the banquet was prepared by Auntie Fong and the servants at home. Because of this, Hua Qinhuan was relieved to let Su Yiyan eat. Su Yiyan rolled her eyes at him. I just had a bowl of porridge. How could I be hungry so soon? Su Yiyan couldn't help but rub her chin. Perhaps it was because she had lost a few kilograms of morning sickness, but recently, her morning sickness had not been so severe. Hua Qinhuan and her family had been feeding her as much as they could. They wished they could raise her like a pig and feed her 7 to 8 meals a day. Now that you're eating 2 people's tonics, you should definitely eat more. Auntie used to eat like that too, from 5 to 6 meals a day. She's eating less and more, eating less for every meal. Unlike me, I eat so much for every meal. Look at my stomach. It hasn't been long, but I've already put on so much weight. Put on so much weight. Hua Qinhuan's eyes flickered. He reached out to touch it. Let me see. Su Yiyan blushed. She quickly grabbed his hand and gave him a cold look. There are so many people here. Their attention isn't on us. Hua Qinhuan used the table as a cover to touch Su Yiyan's stomach. I think it's big 0. Our baby has grown up. Su Yiyan was angry and amused at his words. How big could a 2-month-old baby be? Her stomach was obviously fed by them. Chapter 674. Because of her pregnancy, Su Yiyan's temper has been quite fiery recently. She wants to beat someone up at any moment. In order to not act out domestic violence in public, Su Yiyan can only take a deep breath and say, I'm a little thirsty. Hua Qinhuan instantly understood, I'll go get you some juice. You sit here and don't run around. Okay. After Hua Qinhuan left, Su Yiyan had nothing to do. Just as she was hesitating whether or not to go find Qin Shueru and the others, a familiar figure appeared in front of her. Yan, Su Yiyan looked at the man who had appeared in front of her. Her eyes narrowed and her face turned ugly. Sheng. Fenglang. When the man heard how she called him, he was stunned for a moment. He smiled bitterly. Didn't you call me Brother Fenglang before? Why are you suddenly so distant? Or are you not going to recognize me as your brother after getting married? Su Yiyan's face darkened and a trace of disgust flashed through the depths of her eyes. Cheng Fenglang in front of her was a distant relative of the Qing family. In her previous life, she had a good impression of this brother who was about the same age as her. Therefore, she did not see the ugly face under this handsome and refined face. Even when the Qing family declined, Su Yiyan did not suspect him. Until after her death, he followed by Hua Qinhuan's side. That was when she saw this distant cousin of hers again after so many years. The handsome and refined face of the past had long faded away, leaving only distortion and madness. It was also at that time that Su Yiyan knew that this man had such thoughts about her. I'm not wrong, I just want her. I love her so much, I like her so much. We are not related by blood. Why can't I marry her? In response, Hua Qinhuan threw a pile of information in front of him. At that time, Su Yiyan, who was already in a spirit state, floated to the pile of information and glanced at it. She only felt a chill all over her body. Ming Ming had long lost his body, but he still could not stop his limbs from turning cold. Qing Fenglang didn't really interfere with the decline of the Qing family. The one who really repaid kindness with enmity was Qing Fenglang's biological mother. But if Qing Fenglang didn't know anything about it, Su Yiyan would never believe it. Apart from this, Qing Fenglang was also involved in the suppression of the Su family by all the major corporations. It was all for the sake of getting her. You have no idea how much I love her. When I first saw her, she was only 6 years old. She was wearing a pink dress and had 2 braids. She was holding the old man's hand obediently. She was like a fairy who had strayed into someone else's house. She was so cute and beautiful. At that time, I was thinking that if I could get her one day. Qing Fenglang's eyes were filled with stubbornness and madness. I tried my best to control myself for fear of scaring her. It was not easy to wait until she grew up. I was eager to marry her. I wanted to hold her in the palm of my hand and love her for the rest of my life. I plucked up my courage and asked my mother to sound out the old man. What was the result? Qing Fenglang's eyes were red. He was like a mad dog that had long lost control. The old man was vague and kept saying that it was not suitable. She only treated me as an older brother. Later, he even began to deliberately not let me see her. I knew that he looked down on me and my family. He felt that I was not worthy of her. If they looked down on me, then they could all go to hell. That way, she would have no one to rely on and I would spare her. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 675. That was the first time in Su Yiyan's life that she felt cold to the bone. Just because her grandfather didn't want her to marry him and stopped him from meeting her, he couldn't wait to kill everyone. He had never considered that those were human lives, and that these human lives were related to him. They were also her family. He was obviously an executioner, but he tried to appear in front of her as a savior when she had no one to rely on. He wanted her to be grateful to him and rely on him. Was it really love that he hurt her and her relatives in the name of love? Maybe her grandfather didn't misjudge him from the beginning. He was a madman. You really don't deserve her. Hua Qinhuan sat in the wheelchair and coldly stared at the man who kept saying that he loved Su Yiyan. You don't deserve her, and your family doesn't deserve her. What you should think about is how to change yourself, try to get her relatives' approval, and try to make yourself worthy of her. Instead of breaking her wings and pulling her down from her lofty position into your disgusting, stinking gutter. Hua Qinhuan looked into Qing Fenglang's eyes and concluded in a cold tone, you don't deserve to love her. Su Yiyan had been with Hua Qinhuan for a long time, but it was the first time that she heard him say so many words at once. Her heart couldn't help trembling. Qing Fenglang was completely crazy because of Hua Qinhuan's words. He was standing, and Hua Qinhuan was sitting, but at that moment, Hua Qinhuan was like a peak that he could never surpass, and he was just an ant that could be easily trampled to death at his feet at any time. Qing Fenglang bared his fangs and brandished his claws and wanted to rush over, but he was restrained by several bodyguards in black and couldn't move. In anger, he could only keep cursing. He cursed Hua Qinhuan for having dirty thoughts about Su Yiyan. He cursed him for being a disabled toad who wanted to eat goose meat. What was the difference between him and him? He didn't deserve to criticize him at all. That was also the first time that Su Yiyan really felt sorry for Hua Qinhuan's legs. Just as Hua Qinhuan had said, he had tried his best to make himself outstanding and worthy of her. However, because of his legs, he had failed at the starting point and caused them to miss out on a lifetime together. How could she not be moved by such a person? Once the seed of love was planted, it would grow into a ginseng tree sooner or later. After being reborn, Su Yiyan thought that she would never see this person again, but she didn't expect. Su Yiyan lowered her eyes to hide the coldness in them. She said coldly, when I was young, I called him brother. When I grew up, I naturally couldn't continue to call him brother. Moreover, my husband is quite jealous, and it's not easy to coax him. I don't want him to misunderstand. Cheng Fenglang obviously didn't expect her to be like this. The gentle smile on his face stiffened, and he said with disappointment, "It seems that Yan Yan and your husband have a good relationship. Did he come over with you today?" "Yes, he brought me some food. Calculating the time, he should be back soon. So, can I trouble you to go back to where you came from? Don't stay here and disturb our two-person world." However, Su Yiyan still underestimated a certain shameless person. When Cheng Fenglang heard this, he didn't leave tactfully. Instead, he naturally sat opposite Su Yiyan and said with a smile, "When you got married, I happened to have something to do, so I couldn't be there in person to congratulate you. Since I'm here today, I'll meet this brother-in-law whom I've never met." Chapter 676. Su Yiyan's face darkened. She really wanted to tell him to get lost, but there were so many people at the banquet. It was not good to openly clash with Cheng Fenglang at this time and ruin the banquet that her uncle and aunt had carefully prepared for so long. She could only secretly call for the guy who went to get the juice to come back early to help her out. However, to Su Yiyan's surprise, Hu Chenhuan left for almost half an hour before returning. When Hu Chenhuan came back with a glass of freshly squeezed juice, her face was ugly. After seeing a strange man sitting next to Su Yiyan, her face became even uglier. "Yan Yan, your juice is ready." Su Yiyan had already been impatient to deal with someone. When she heard Hu Chenhuan's voice, her eyes lit up, as if she had seen her savior. She unconsciously complained like a spoiled child, "Why did you come back so late? There were no ingredients in the kitchen, so I sent someone out to buy ingredients." Hu Chenhuan explained in a good-tempered manner, and then looked at Cheng Fenglang. "This is..." Cheng Fenglang looked at Su Yiyan's undisguised dependence on the person in front of him, and his eyes suddenly deepened. He smiled faintly and said, "I am Yan Yan's cousin. You must be Yan Yan's new husband." "Hello, I am Cheng Fenglang." Cheng Fenglang took the initiative to reach out his hand to Hu Chenhuan. Hu Chenhuan glanced at the hand in front of her. Her eyes flashed, and she reached out to shake his hand. The two shook hands for less than 2 seconds, but Su Yiyan on the side smelled the smoke of gunpowder. Su Yiyan frowned and took the initiative to get up and hold Hu Chenhuan's arm. She smiled and said, "Why did you only take 1 glass? Don't you want to drink?" Hu Chenhuan took advantage of the opportunity to help Su Yiyan to sit down, and the expression on her face softened a little. "There are not many ingredients, only enough for 1 glass." Su Yiyan's eyes lit up, and he said without thinking, "Then let's drink together." Normally, no matter how greedy Hu Chenhuan was, he wouldn't fight with his wife for food. But when she saw the man sitting opposite her, she changed her mind. "Okay." Su Yiyan and Cheng Fenglang were so close to each other that Cheng Fenglang's face turned deathly pale for a moment. However, he quickly smiled and said, "The relationship between the two of you is really good. It's not like what the rumors say at all." "Rumors?" Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and interrupted him. "What are the rumors about us?" Cheng Fenglang choked and did not answer directly. Instead, he asked tactfully, "I heard that you two got married in a flash." Su Yiyan knew what he was hinting at. Her eyes turned cold. Just as she was about to explain, Hu Chenhuan reached over and held her hand tightly under the table, interlocking their fingers. It was a flash marriage. "We fell in love with each other at first sight. That's really romantic." Su Yiyan snorted coldly in her heart and secretly scolded hypocrisy. However, her mouth was incomparably sweet. "I also think that some people are like this. They only need to look at each other to know that the other party is the most perfect choice in their life. On the contrary, some people were destined to be unable to get together even if they had been around for decades. Qing Finglong's eyes lit up when he heard her words. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Su Yiyan again. Of course, feelings are two-way. A forced melon is not sweet. I like him, and he happens to like me. It saves a lot of trouble. Otherwise, we can't get married in a flash even if we wanted to. Chapter 677. Although Su Yiyan was emphasizing that the two of them were in love with each other, if one thought about it carefully, she might be hinting at Qing Fenglang. Flash marriage was not a derogatory term for them. On the contrary, the reason why they had a flash marriage was precisely because they had feelings for each other. Otherwise, if one of them was willing and the other was not, no matter how much they entangled, they would not be able to get married, just like him and her. Qing Fenglang was not a fool. When he heard Su Yiyan's words, he was stunned for a moment. He looked at Su Yiyan with more surprise in his eyes. He intuitively felt that the person in front of him might know something. But how did she know? Could it be? For a moment, Qing Finglong's mind was full of twists and turns, and the smile on his face was a little more forced. Yin Yan's words make sense. When Su Yiyan heard this intimate address again, she frowned slightly and took a sip of the juice brought by Hu Chenhuan. Honey, this juice is very sweet. Have a taste. Su Yiyan handed the juice in her hand to Hu Chenhuan very naturally. Hu Chenhuan was shocked by Su Yiyan's call of honey. After being stunned, she quickly reacted and lowered her head to drink from Su Yiyan's hand. It's very sweet. I like the taste. Hu Chenhuan instantly understood. Okay, I'll ask someone to buy it later. Su Yiyan giggled sheepishly. Am I pushing my luck and becoming arrogant because of my child? Hu Chenhuan laughed. No, it's just some fruits. Even if you don't have a baby in your belly, as long as you want to eat it, I'll get it for you. Su Yiyan's eyes curved slightly. She was satisfied. Qing Fenglang was already upset because of their undisguised intimacy. When he heard the second half, he was even more surprised. Baby? Yes, I'm pregnant. Qing Fenglang looked at the undisguised sweetness and joy on Su Yiyan's face and thought about the fact that she was pregnant with another man's child. The veins on the back of his hands, which were hanging under the table, bulged, announcing that he was not calm. After a short silence, Qing Fenglang said with some difficulty, "Congratulations." Thank you. After experiencing a few blows, even someone as patient as Qing Fenglang couldn't take it anymore. He stood up and said, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. If there's a chance, let's get together again. Su Yiyan glanced at him and thought, next time. There will be no next time. However, he replied politely and distantly, okay. As soon as Qing Fenglang left, the smile on Su Yiyan's face immediately disappeared. She quietly finished the fruit juice that Hu Chenhuan brought back. She hugged Hu Chenhuan's arm and said tiredly, I'm a little tired. Let's go back first. Hu Chenhuan looked at her expression and instinctively knew that something had happened. She nodded and brought her to find Qin Shueru and the others, informing them that they had to leave first. Qin Shueru and the others knew that it was hard for Su Yiyan to be pregnant. They were also worried that she would be tired. Without asking much, they asked Hu Chenhuan to take her home to rest quickly. As soon as they got in the car, Su Yiyan hugged Hu Chenhuan's waist and buried her whole face in his arms. Her eyebrows were full of intimacy and dependence. Hu Chenhuan's heart softened. He reached out and touched her head. Then he pulled her into his arms so that she could lean on him more comfortably. They hugged each other like this for a while, and no one said anything. Just when Su Yan's eyelids were fighting to stay open and she was about to fall asleep, Hu Chenhuan asked hesitantly, "That man just now. Is he really your cousin? Why haven't I heard that you have a cousin? Didn't your grandfather only give birth to your mother and your uncle?" Chapter 678. Su Yan was about to fall asleep, but when she heard what he said, she forced her eyelids open and looked at Hu Chenhuan with a slightly confused expression. When Hu Chenhuan saw this, he thought that she was unwilling. He lowered his eyes and said, "If you don't want to, then don't." Su Yan finally woke up. She laughed and said, "Why wouldn't I want to? He is indeed my cousin in name." Cousin in name. Hu Chenhuan caught the main point. Why? According to seniority, he is indeed related to me, but we are not related by blood. His grandfather and my grandfather are brothers in name, but my grandfather is my great-grandfather's biological son, and his grandfather was adopted. Hu Chenhuan immediately understood what she meant. So, his family is not related to you by blood? Yes, after my grandfather married my grandmother, he separated from them. Although they also have the surname Qing, they don't see us many times a year, so we can't be considered familiar with them. Su Yan leaned into Hu Chenhuan's arms. She paused and frowned. I don't really like his mother. His mother. His mother is about the same age as my mother. She is very vain, likes to compete, and is very narrow-minded. Su Yan knew all this in her previous life. However, the other party was an elder, and they rarely saw each other. No matter how annoying this aunt was, it was not worth it to her. Although she was annoying, Su Yan did not have any conflicts with her. Later, when Su Yan found out that the Qing family's matter was related to her, she knew that this aunt of hers had always been jealous of her mother and Qin Shuiru. Qin Shuiru was fine. In her previous life, until Su Yan passed away, she and Qing Juanhao did not have any children. Qin Shuiru's aunt had a son of her own. In any case, she won against Qin Shuiru on this point. Behind her back, she often took joy in her misfortune. Qing Shuqin was different. She had a son and a daughter, and her parents loved her dearly. She also had a husband who put her first and started his own company. Her aunt's husband was a mediocre and honest man. Although he wasn't cunning and sly, he wasn't cut out for business either. He couldn't give her the rich life she wanted. Comparing the two, her mentality immediately became unbalanced. Furthermore, she had tried to ask Old Master Su to strengthen the marriage between Su Yan and his son. However, Old Master Su had fooled her, which had poked at her sensitive self-esteem. She felt that the Qing family looked down on her and her son, so she hated them. When Su Yan found out about this, she felt nauseous. You're not looking for the reason why your life is not good. You're working hard to live your life well, but you're thinking about other people's lives. When you see others living better than you, you feel unbalanced and want to harm others. When she thought about it carefully, this idea was very similar to her son's. It was true that if the upper beam was not straight, the lower beam would be crooked. If they weren't from the same family, they wouldn't enter the same house. After listening to Su Yan's words, Hu Chenhuan was silent for a moment. Then, he said firmly, "He likes you." Su Yan widened her eyes in surprise and looked up at him. "How did you know?" "Intuition." Su Yan. So, there was a special radar between love rivals. They had only met once, and in less than 5 sentences, he could tell. As for her, she had known Qing Fenglang for a long time. Although they didn't have much contact, they had met many times. Yet, she didn't notice it at all. Chapter 679. Hu Chenhuan narrowed her eyes, and her expression revealed a hint of danger. You know that he likes you. His mother once talked about this with my grandfather. Based on the information from her previous life, her aunt should have mentioned this to her grandfather a long time ago. However, her grandfather didn't tell her. Instead, he secretly stopped Ching Fonglang and didn't let him have too much contact with her. He even secretly planned to send Ching Fonglang abroad for several years. Grandfather Jean was probably busy greeting the guests and didn't pay attention to the situation of the guests. This allowed Ching Fonglang to take advantage of the loophole, which Chenwan's expression immediately became a little ugly. Related topics. What related topics could the elders talk about? It was nothing more than matchmaking two people. My grandfather didn't agree because he knew that it was impossible for me to like him. Su Yiyen lowered her eyes slightly. Moreover, I don't think he really likes me. The person he likes is just an illusion of his imagination. As for the so-called obsession later on, it was just selfishness in the end. People are selfish, but some selfish people have a bottom line, and some people don't. Moreover, later on, Su Yiyen calmed down and thought about it. She felt that this family's intention to marry her was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. In her previous life, her uncle and aunt didn't have any children and didn't think of adopting a child. The Qing family didn't have an heir in name, and they didn't want to adopt a child. The biggest possibility was to choose one of Qing Shuqin's two children to inherit the Qing family. Su Yuxuan had his own business. Compared to him, Su Yiyen was obviously more likely to be the heir. If Qing Fonglang married her, it wasn't impossible for him to take the entire Qing family in the future. Evil people always liked to put on a dignified shell for all the bad things they did. In fact, only they knew how many schemes they had in mind. Hua Chenwan could see that Su Yiyen really didn't like that man. It could even be said that she hated him. At the same time, she couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Su Yiyen rarely expressed her disgust to someone so directly. Before this, most of the people who enjoyed this treatment were weirdos who took advantage of her face and stepped on her nose. This Qing Fonglang must have done something that made her feel disgusted, which was why she was so repulsed. Hua Chenhuan's eyes turned cold. She was already planning to ask Gu Xiaoyang and the others to investigate this person's family. Besides, Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed with a cold light when she thought of the person she had accidentally met near the venue. She was vaguely annoyed and impatient. Not long after Su Yiyen and Hua Chenhuan left the venue, Qing Fonglang and his family also left. As soon as they got into the car, Aunt Chang's face darkened. She did not hide her jealousy and resentment towards Qing Juanhao's family. Isn't it just giving birth to a son? It was as if no one had ever given birth to a child. She couldn't wait to let everyone know. She still has a child at such an old age. I wonder if she'll still be around when the child grows up. It was no wonder that Aunt Qing was so angry that her face was distorted. She thought that the Qing family's bloodline would be cut off. Her family might not be able to get a share of the profits after old Master Qing passed away. But in the end, Qin Shuiru suddenly had a child. All her gloating and greedy expectations were in vain. How could she not be angry? Aunt Chang's husband, Qing Finglang's father, frowned when he heard his wife's words. He disagreed and said, "You, stop talking. It's a good thing for people to have children. How can you curse people like that?" Chapter 680. It would have been fine if he hadn't said anything, but after he said that, Aunt Chang's anger rose. "I did. What's wrong? Do you want to complain to them about me? I haven't even told you yet, and you have the nerve to scold me. We're both members of the Qing family. They eat and drink well, live in a big, spacious, and beautiful house, and have servants and chefs at home. They live comfortably. What about our family? We even have to hesitate to buy a new house for our children." Aunt Ching pointed at her husband and scolded him like a shrew. "You're useless. You don't even dare to fart in front of others. I'm just telling the truth, and you're so afraid of offending people. Why, am I wrong? It was their family who didn't do well in the first place. They coaxed the old master to leave everything to them. That's not a big deal. We're a family after all. They took the benefits and helped us. It's nothing. But in the end, they're living a comfortable life and have everything, but they can only watch as our family lives a hard life. In my opinion, the reason why they haven't had children for so many years is because they've done too many wicked things. It's retribution. If the old master has eyes, he should let them die without descendants." Uncle Ching listened to his wife's sarcastic words and opened his mouth, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Although he was honest, his family hadn't been harmonious all these years, and his career hadn't been going well. This man, who didn't have much ability, had experienced the vicissitudes of life and misery. His wife's accusations also made him start to resent the Ching family. No matter what, they were still relatives. If the Ching family had given them something, their family wouldn't have had such a hard time. However, the couple had clearly forgotten that although they had the surname Ching, they weren't related to the Ching family at all. Back then, the old master of the Ching family had taken pity on their grandfather, so he adopted him and gave him a meal. Later, although they separated from the family and didn't give their grandfather as many things as old Master Ching, he was still their biological son. You were just an adopted son. They gave you such a large sum of money, enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. It could be said that they didn't let you down. As long as you had some backbone and took this money to walk your own path, that would be your ability. However, Ching Finglong's grandfather didn't think so. After receiving the money, he resented the Ching family while hoping that he could still freeload off his brother after spending all the money. Instead of being down to earth and using the money to do some business to support his family, he spent even more than usual. It didn't take long for him to spend more than half of the money and excitedly ran to the Ching family to ask for more money. In the beginning, the Ching family still gave them 1 or 2 times out of consideration for their old friendship. Later, they realized that these people were just bloodsuckers who couldn't be fed enough, so they stopped paying attention to them. Instead, they bore a grudge against them. Even the younger generation was resentful. They felt that the Ching family had deliberately raised their grandfather to be a cripple to prevent him from competing with old Master Ching for the family inheritance. It was really like the saying, once you've gained enough, you'll gain enough enmity. Ching Finglong's family had already squandered most of their money in Grandpa Chang's generation. When it came to Uncle Chang's generation, they wanted to take the money to do some business. Unfortunately, Uncle Ching didn't have any business acumen. After doing business for a few years, he didn't make much money and even lost a lot. The more difficult the days were, the more Aunt Ching hated the Ching family. However, it never occurred to her that the Ching family had never owed them anything. Why should they help them? Chapter 681. Enough. Can't you be quiet? Cheng Fenglang listened to his parents quarrel, and his face was gloomy to the extreme. He finally couldn't help but shout in a low voice. Aunt Chang's face was full of unwillingness. Just as she was about to speak, she met her son's ugly face. Fenglang, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so pale? Uncle Ching also noticed his son's abnormality when she shouted. He asked with concern, "Are you feeling unwell?" Ching Fenglang was silent for a moment, then said in a hoarse voice, "I just met Yen Yen." Yen Yen. Aunt Ching was stunned for a moment. It took her a long time to remember who the Yen Yen Ching Fenglang was talking about was. Her face darkened. You met her. Did she say something unpleasant to you and make you sad? Aunt Ching didn't wait for Ching Fong Lang to answer and came to a conclusion first. It must be. This B*TCH is the same as her mother. They both worship the strong and trample on the weak. Their eyes are on the top of their heads. They look down on our family and think that our family isn't good enough for her. She married an incompetent cripple from a rich family. Cripple? Ching Fong Lang was shocked. He knew about Su Yiyen's sudden marriage. At that time, he was sad for a long time. At that time, he was still abroad. If his parents hadn't stopped him, he even wanted to go to Su Yiyen personally and ask her what was wrong with him. Aunt Chang's face changed slightly. She realized that she had accidentally spilled the beans. As a relative, she had heard a lot of gossip about Su Yiyen's family. After knowing that Su Yiyen had married a cripple, she was relieved, but at the same time, she was worried that her son would be sad when he found out, so she had been hiding it. Who would have thought that she would blurt it out so quickly? However, since it was out, Aunt Ching didn't hide it anymore. Isn't he a cripple? It said that he's in a wheelchair. His legs are disabled and he can't even stand up. His legs are disabled. Ching Finglong's eyes narrowed. But the man just now is not a cripple. Not a cripple. How is that possible? I asked around at that time. He's a cripple in a wheelchair. It said that his legs have been broken for more than 10 years. There's no doubt about it. Then Aunt Ching rolled her eyes and thought that she understood. That man is definitely not her husband. He's someone she's having an affair with. How is this possible? Why not? That B*TCH must have been unwilling to marry a cripple. Let's not talk about anything else. That man's legs are crippled, and he won't be able to have sex with her. Isn't it just a matter of time? If you don't want to, then why did you marry him? Ching Fong Lang still couldn't accept that the woman he liked would rather marry a cripple who couldn't even walk by himself than choose him. Aunt Ching rolled her eyes at her son and said in exasperation, "Of course it's for money." For money. For a young lady to marry a cripple, other than for his family's money, what else could it be? Didn't I just say that? The man she married was probably very rich, at least richer than that B*TCH's family. If the two of them get married, it might be. Yes, it's a business marriage. After getting married, they'll go their separate ways. Ching Finglong's eyes were slightly red. He still didn't want to believe that the woman he liked was such a person. Aunt Ching was still nagging about Su Yiyen, but Ching Fong Lang couldn't listen to a single word. After a few minutes, he muttered, "She's pregnant." Chapter 682. She's pregnant. Aunt Ching exclaimed. She's pregnant. Whose child is it? It should be the man beside her. Aunt Ching pursed her lips with a look of disdain. It's fine if she's just fooling around outside, but she's actually pregnant. Is this B*TCH determined to let her man take over and raise another man's child? As expected of Ching Shuqin's despicable daughter, she's just as despicable. Isn't she living comfortably with her man's money? She's still raising another man and giving birth to another man's child. Shameless. Aunt Chang's words were unpleasant to the ears, and Uncle Ching couldn't help but say, "Stop talking." Why should I stop talking? She did it herself, so why should she be afraid of others? Aunt Ching wasn't willing to let go of this opportunity to scold Aunt Ching. She snorted and continued, "Fortunately, our Fong Lang didn't marry her back then. Who knows what kind of trouble such a promiscuous woman would cause if he married her." You. Uncle Ching and his wife quarreled for a while. Ching Fong Lang listened on the side and didn't say anything else. However, from his tightly clenched fists and the veins on the back of his hands, one could still see that his heart was not calm at this moment. After an unknown period of time, Qing Finglong's expression gradually returned to its original calmness, but there was a hint of complexity and hatred in the depths of his eyes. At that time, Su Yiyan had no idea that in the eyes of Qing Fenglang and his family, she had already become an adulterous woman who had cheated on her husband. On the second day of the full moon banquet, she directly mentioned Qing Finglong's family to Old Master Qing and the others, warning them to be on guard against this family and not get too close to them if there was nothing. Although Qing Juanhao and the others were a little puzzled, they knew that Su Yiyan wouldn't harm them, so they nodded and agreed. Old Master Qing was surprised by Su Yiyan's words, and his expression became complicated. Obviously, he thought of what Aunt Qing had mentioned to him before. He vaguely guessed that his granddaughter probably already knew about this and had some unpleasant conflict with this family. Both grandfather and grandson were well aware of this, but they had a tacit understanding. Neither of them mentioned this matter. After the full moon ceremony, Su Yiyan and Qing Su Yiyan stayed at the Qing residence for a few more days. Only when the baby in Su Yiyan's stomach was 3 months old did they set off for a city. In less than 2 months, the businesses under the two men's names did not have any major problems. At Luo Baoging's side, the auditions for the main cast of Red Brave were almost done. Most of the roles had already been confirmed. As Hu Chenwan expected, Douyi's people didn't want to find trouble with Luo Baoging, pressuring him to withdraw from the cast. However, Luo Baoging was a person who could be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. The more Hai Yi tried to make trouble for him, the more he wanted to film this drama well and slap them in the face. Secondly, Hu Chenwan had predicted this would happen and had sent people to protect the couple. Hai Yi had been rebuffed several times, so they slowly calmed down. In addition to Luo Baoging's matter, there was also an interesting matter. It was the only modern IP among the 3 IPs that Su Yiyan had her eyes on. At that time, Zhu took the lead and extended an olive branch to Dongqing, wanting to invest in exchange for 2 roles in this drama, a male lead and a second female lead. Su Yiyan only promised to give them an opportunity to audition, and if they succeeded, they would be let into the cast. In the end, the 2 dresses had some ability and got the 2 roles after the audition. However, not long after they entered the cast, the second female lead actress began to cause trouble. Chapter 683. She wants to add scenes. She even brought her own screenwriter into the crew. When Su Yiyan heard about this, she almost laughed out of anger. Does she think the crew is her home? Everyone in the crew has to revolve around her, right? Tell her to behave herself, or she'll get lost. She's not part of our company to begin with. Dongqing has no obligation to spoil her. Su Yiyan's words fully explained Dongqing's attitude towards this matter. However, how could someone who could do such a strange thing as bringing in her own screenwriter be well behaved? The second daughter, who had caused trouble as soon as she entered the crew, was asked to leave the crew and sent back to Zhu. It would have been fine if this matter had ended there, but a certain someone was not someone who could settle things peacefully. As soon as she returned to the company, she started causing trouble. She claimed that on the first day of entering the crew, she was bullied by the cast and staff because she was not an artiste of Dongqing. She was forced to leave the crew and led the fans to tear Dongqing apart. Dongqing had originally considered that Zhu still had a male artiste in the crew, and that he was more well-behaved. It was not good for them to fall out with Zhu and make things too ugly, so they did not pursue the strange thing that this female artiste had done. In the end, someone took their tolerance for weakness. Dongqing City didn't give Zhu any face. They immediately announced the whole story and asked for compensation. That's right, compensation. When Zhu had taken the initiative to express goodwill, Su Yiyan had deliberately been on guard against the two actors who had been stuffed into the crew. It was not uncommon for the entertainment industry to bring money into the crew to change the script and forcefully add the supporting roles to be similar to the lead roles. Therefore, she made it clear that all the artistes in the cast had to sign a guarantee to ensure that they would not cause any trouble in the cast. Now that this female artiste had caused such a scene, the compensation was secondary. She had only been in the crew for 2 or 3 days, so the crew had not delayed her for long. The main reason was that the crew had to find someone else to take the loss, but this was not a big deal to Ju-ing. However, after she caused such a scene, everyone knew that she was acting like a big shot. She even brought her own screenwriter into the crew to add scenes. Over the years, those die-hard fans of the Bright White Moon IP had been changed beyond recognition because of the extra scenes in the supporting roles. They only had an IP name, but the plot had nothing to do with the original work. All of a sudden, they vented their anger on her and scolded her. In the future, if there were any other directors who wanted to get her to act in a movie, they would have to consider whether they could withstand the negative public opinion brought about by this person and whether they could afford to serve such an ancestor. On the contrary, Dongxing's tough attitude had also attracted a wave of fans, which made the fans of the books and comics who were originally worried that their own IP would be magically altered temporarily calm down. It also made the low-key crew feel a wave of presence and warm up in advance. She saved us a lot of publicity fees by making such a scene. In addition to the other compensation for the losses, it's not a loss. When Xia Junxing heard Su Yiyan's words, his first reaction was to think that she might have already predicted that someone would make such a scene. Not only did she punish her as an example to others, but she also stepped on her and made a strong impression on the crew. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was not impossible. Agreeing to Ju Ying's request was considered giving Ju-ing face. At that time, signing the contract was also a guarantee for both of them. It would be best if these two artistes knew their place. Everyone could film a good drama peacefully, and it would be a win-win situation for both parties. Once they caused trouble, it would be a waste not to take the heat that came knocking on their door. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.